Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good following morning. It is March 10th, 2022. This is AMA number 87, special edition. We're going to update you on what's happening in Ukraine from the Polish point of view, from the JCC point of view. AMA number 87, I believe, and I'm here with my co-host, Rabbi Avi Baumel.
Good morning. Shalom to everyone. It is the seventh day of the second month of Adar. Zion Adar is a big day in Jewish history. Moshe Rabbeinu was born on this day and he died 120 years later.
Wait a second. He was born on Adar 1 or Adar 2?
Adar.
So then this is not really the day.
Well, do you want to start getting semantic?
I don't know. My middle name is Semantic. Good morning, Jeffrey Rolat. Good to see you. Avi, today we don't have any special guests. We have only the two of us to discuss.
We're pretty special.
We are. Well, some of us are more special than others, and some of us are more special in certain ways than others. That being said, you, special Rabbi Avi, are my co-host and guest today. We are going to talk about Ukraine, what's going on, it's been. I think it's safe to say that we have never had 2 weeks like this in our JCC time. I would say that I've never had a busier period in my life.
I would agree.
I would say that the army wasn't. I think being in the army wasn't as intense as this. I mean, again, not to say that what we're doing is such a big deal compared to what people are going through, but it's a pretty crazy time as well for us.
Yeah, it's certainly something I've never experienced in my life. There's this sense that there's always someone walking in the door. There's another person to help right now, and that's not going away any near future. It's a lot to digest, and it's a big responsibility.
No question. No question. I think what's interesting is that if we look at these 2 weeks a little bit, and I think maybe today we'll divide things up. You went to the border and then into Lviv last week, Lvov last week. Yesterday, we traveled together to the border. We went to 2 border crossings, and then we crossed onto the Ukrainian side where we remained for a while. And we'll talk about that. I want to talk about the JCC response and what we see here in Krakow, but maybe first, and we'll get to that. But first, in terms of, the sort of larger conceptual idea of it, it's interesting. I don't remember, we woke up, war had broken out, and I don't remember any decision of whether or not to get involved or whether or not to focus our institutions, or to shift our institutions' focus toward Ukraine. We came in that morning and it was already completely shifting the what we're doing into trying to do what we can to help these people that started immediately to come across the border. So people, well, how did you decide? What did you think about? And it was just the natural thing. One day we're helping our community and doing what we can. And then the next day it became that we are helping in a different way and a different constituency, but we are trying to help those people. And it was just, I don't want to say seamless, because it was incredibly, and has been and still is and will be incredibly difficult. But in terms of the decision making, that was I think automatic for us.
I don't recall if I was there in that moment, but I was actually marveled at the speed with which the center, which we normally thought of with all of the million things that we normally do, all of a sudden just shifted focus and tunnel focus straight on to Ukrainian emergency relief. And that's just shows the intensity and the professionalism of the staff, of the volunteers, of everyone who's involved in this organization. And I applaud everyone here.
No, I've been amazed. I've really been amazed. And I sometimes forget, as someone who's a bit of an android, that I don't really rely too much on food or sleep. I can sometimes forget that people have limits, and whether that's physical or emotional. And I think that that's a problem for me sometimes as a manager, that I just full on and expect everybody else to be able to do that. If anybody has an idea how when your phone is connected to WhatsApp or your things and it rings on your computer as well, how to stop that, that would be really type it in the chat. But anyway, I think that, so the staff has been absolutely unbelievable, and you know, we have to be mindful of their mental health and of their condition, and to, you know, to keep an eye on that. But people have been heroic, working, you know, 7 days a week, working till all hours, to you know, to respond to this crisis. And it's difficult, you know. I don't know, I wake up every day and I see that you know, I have a lot in life, and I have you know, amazing wife and daughter, and I think how lucky I am, and I think, wow, then you know, there are so many people now that are really suffering, and their lives were fantastic lives until 2 weeks ago, and it just seems like an opportunity and a privilege to be in the position of the helper and not the one who's needing help.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for us as a Jewish community, which we're usually all networked and connected, and we know someone, and we always have, not all of us, but many of us have some kind of feeling of, if I need to pick up tomorrow and go somewhere, I'll be able to find someone. But that's not a normal experience for people, and it's very hard for us to really understand that they left with the shirt off their back, with a carry-on and whatever, you know, they had on that day, and now they're in an unknown land, and they need help like for tomorrow. That's something that is, it's hard to wrap your head around. They need help tomorrow. We got a call today. I have nowhere to live tomorrow, right? Thank God we have the resources to say, okay, we'll take care of you.
Relieved when somebody says they have nowhere to live tomorrow, because it means they have somewhere to live today. You know, we're getting calls at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night that 5 people just are pulling into the bus station or have left the border, and we don't know when they're arriving. And that's been a challenge for us, to get the system up and working, to transform the system into something that works more really 7 days a week, you know, until because we can't just, oh, you have a baby, mother with a baby gets to the train station, no, just leave her, because we're no. It's clear that that's something. We're not an emergency services, or we haven't been an emergency services organization. And I think organizationally, there have been 2 changes. One, we're not experts in this, right? I think we're experts in Jewish community building in Poland, and there are probably larger takeaways that you can do from that. But you know, we're experts, and we're a Jewish community center, and I think a pretty well functioning Jewish community center. But we're not an emergency services provider. And the other thing that we're not, we're a service provider. We're generally not an organization that's having to work with a ton of partners and provide them with financing to help them deliver services, right? We've never done that before. Anything that we've done it more or less ourselves, partnered here and there for different events. But to see organizations that are in a position to do good, and to say the thing that's missing from that organization is the resources to do it. So let's find those resources and give that organization resources, and that organization can go hire 1,000, you know, can go get 30 buses and bring 1,000 people out of Ukraine. Then that's not something that we're used to doing. We're usually just doing everything directly. So that's been a conceptual change for how we do business.
Absolutely, a major learning curve. And what's nice is that you have the elasticity to recognize that, you know, we're not professionals in this. You actually brought in a professional to help us, you know, learn how to deal with it and, you know, see big picture things. And nevertheless, you know, somewhat flying by the seat of the pants, turning this place into a headquarters so quickly and so efficiently is praiseworthy. I do have a video of some pictures of what the Yadova room looks like, and you know, the people watching usually think the Yadova room is a place we're going to have Shabbat dinner, and we're going to have a little exhibition, a nice little video, or a nice you know, art display. But it's a little different today.
Go ahead and show that, Avi.
So this is what the front of the building looks like now. And this is Ukraine, but this is already our Yadova room, which is just mind-blowing. And this is a result of What'd you do? How'd you call out people to say, come bring stuff? How did that work?
Second, first of all, it looks a lot more organized than that, Avi. That's a slightly outdated photo. Now that we're become more and more a little more expertise in the disaster relief, emergency, humanitarian area. We have everything is labeled. There's different places. There's the diaper corner. There's the baby food corner. There's a lot more going on. So maybe you can pull the photo for now, just because I'm like, oh my God, they set things up. I'm going to get in
I'm
trouble.
sorry. I just have older photos.
Listen, I'm updating. I create these huge updates, and then I have to, maybe shut the screen, and then I have to redo them all the time. So, can you turn? No, we'll get back to that in a minute.
Here, I do have a video of showing what people look like when they're.
Okay.
Let's see that. I kind of just watched a little kid trying to find some toys. Which is amazing that there's a little toy section. People coming, they don't have their toys. The kids are, the women are taking stuff from one side. People are all around. Packages keep coming in. Volunteers keep helping out. I mean, this is it's extremely organized and just amazing, I think.
We can talk a little bit about, maybe if we can, we'll end that and talk just a little bit about what our response has been, what we're doing. So we really had no idea. We understood right away that we were going to focus our center's activities. And by putting up the Ukrainian flags and having it saying welcome in Ukrainian in huge letters on our gate, I think we were sort of showing what we're doing. And straight away, organizations started to contact us. People started to bring food in, bring things into Ukrainian. So we became straight away a collection point. And then that also, collection point means distribution point. So we have, 50, 100 people a day coming in with their families, taking diapers, food, anything they need. And they walk in and we essentially process them in the sense of we interview them. We have a form that we fill out that give guidance to our staff and volunteers that are working there, ask them questions. Do they have a place to stay? Do they have food? Do they need to get somewhere? What's their situation? We take all that information and then we help them as possible. So maybe a little go through it a little bit is we are, and this is 7 days a week. So we've expanded our hours greatly. We've hired 10 full-time staff members. So we have one person or even two people at this point that are just focused on housing. We have somebody that we just hired to go and take care of the people that we have in the hotels. We have translators downstairs. We have people we have an extra driver or two. We have just people
Security.
Extra security guard all the time. So this is just a lot. The staff has grown by 30% in a few days. At this point, we are we've over 2,000 people have received supplies directly in our building. 2,000 people have come in, taken diapers, taken food, clothing, anything else that they need, and that which is an amazing number. We're currently housing 170 people. Housing, we mean renting hotel rooms. Maybe there's an apartment or two, but it's very hard to find. We're trying to get more apartments online because they're larger and longer term. We have 170 people in short-term stay in hotel rooms around the city, around mostly the quarter, and that number is, yesterday was 120 and the day before was 60. The numbers are increasing rapidly. And those people, we are providing them with food. We have a relationship with a restaurant that will have coupons starting tomorrow that they can go in and hand in that coupon and get a meal in this vegan restaurant around the corner that we work with. But, housing those people, by the way, indefinitely also means that who's taking care of them? We have a family of 7 in 3 hotel rooms with a 10-year-old kid that's with heavy autism. Means that we have people that are checking on them, trying to get the kid into school, seeing what services they need, become a full scale service provider and social service agency to these people that are just pouring across the border and that become to some degree, not even to some degree, that are in our care because we're housing them. And I think for us, the most basic need is housing. Somebody getting psychological care or getting legal advice or getting diapers, if they don't have a place to live, then those things, are important. But the primary thing is housing. We're blowing past $10,000 a day that we're spending on housing people. So
I'll just give an example of the housing. I went to a hotel to visit one of the refugees. I've been to two hotels actually, and I think that the hotels are ready for the task. The hotels realize that they are supporting, they are helping the cause, like a lot of Poland, and that's really nice to see. And when I came in and we said, we're here to visit a refugee, it was immediate. They understood. There were Ukrainians all over the hotel in the Galaxy, and that's beautiful to see. But you go into the hotel room, and this man happened to have been, he's an 80-year-old member, Jewish member of the community of Vasilikov named Yaakov, with his wife, and he's not well. And it's very sad. And he's constantly worrying about, because he was the president of the community there, and he's worrying about his members of the community and whether they got out or not. And he's worrying about his own children, and his son had to go be in the army. And it's heart-wrenching. I'll tell you, it's heart-wrenching to sit with them and to hear their story. And we do the best that we can. We're providing them with as much as we can. We wanted to invite him to a Shabbat dinner. He's too old. I'm gonna bring over Shabbat dinner right before Shabbat. And he says, can you bring me a kippah? Because I didn't have time to take it when we left.
Him in Yiddish, if I remember.
I did speak to him in Yiddish, yes. And he wants a mezuzah. He was shocked that on his Galaxy hotel there's no mezuzah. So it's quite sad and meaningful for us to be doing this on this level. And I need to go visit the hundreds of people that are out there.
It's interesting, the sad, there is, the situation is tragic, no question about it. But the other side of that is look how the world is responding. Look at the people that are calling us, and we have people that want to volunteer, people that send us money, people that send us support. Look how the Polish people have responded, taking people into their houses. Poles have tiny apartments. We know, someone that we know very well, who's your student. You're one of your best, amazing students, who has 20 people living in her house. That's not a giant mansion. It's a small house with 20 people living in it. This idea. So Poles have really, I think, amazingly welcomed. That's been a positive shock. How Polish society has welcomed Ukrainians in has been really uplifting. So for all the tragedy, the takeaway is, of course, the tragedy, but maybe the takeaway should also be, look how the world is united to try to help this country. Even countries like Poland that have a difficult relationship with Ukraine. It hasn't been all roses with Ukraine and Poland in the history, a difficult history for a lot of it, for some of it at least. But look how the Poles have opened up their country and their hearts and their wallets and their homes for Ukrainians. So that, what will I take away, one madman who's doing this, or will I take away, wow, look at the beauty that human people are capable, that humans are capable of by showing this love to their fellow humans.
Yeah, but I was thinking about it, actually. Think about one madman and his ability to change the world. That's frightening. How many times has that happened in our history? Like, one guy.
A lot.
What?
I say yes, of course. We've spoken about that in a different context very often.
Right, and also one madman and his ability or his actions produce like a worldwide and especially a Poland like this, a solidarity that is unknown to us. This idea of people just giving, constantly wanting to help out.
Amazing.
There's also something to that.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just going to get to a couple comments and questions. I see our good friend and former AMA guest, Rabbi Creditor, who has some very nice things to say, and he's traveling after Shabbat with the UJA Federation mission to Poland. We will meet you. I am in touch with UJA, and Rabbi Avi and I will go to Przemyśl, where we will meet you, Menachem, and the other rabbis, and spend some time with you. So we're looking forward to that on Monday after Shabbos, when you fly Saturday night. Suellen, our good friend Suellen Kadis, mostly women and children. Yeah, almost completely women and children, a few older men, maybe a few disabled people, but we're going to talk about the border and what that was like. But yeah, we are talking about almost exclusively women and children. Do you have enough money for all of this, Randy? No. I mean, no. The limit. luckily people have been very generous. You have been generous, and many on the call, or many here have been generous, and have not only that, but reached out to their friends who are supporting us. But the limit is great. You know, we're helping a lot. We'll still get back to that and talk about all that we're doing, but we're spending a lot of money. But the need is great, and we never really thought about it before too much. And we're a tiny JCC. You can go to these conferences of JCCs, and it's always, oh, little JC Krakow, but we're the largest we're the largest Jewish organization in Poland, and we've really taken the responsibility to do all that we can. And in this part of Poland, in Warsaw, there are all the community organizations banded together, and we're a part of that network, and they're doing things. And in Krakow, we're the game. That's us doing it in Krakow. Jeffrey Rolat, what percentage that we see are Jewish? Some people reach out to us sometimes because they're Jewish, but people are just reaching out to us, and people are coming in just because they're coming in. We're getting referrals for Jews. We have 2 Jewish children, Ukrainian children, in our preschool that have started in our preschool. So that's something, but it's hard to say percentage wise. It's hard to quantify. It's hard to quantify this in any way. We're so busy trying to do what we're doing that to document it and do a good job is stuff we're just trying to get our heads around. Lori's asking where we can donate directly. So it's friendsofjcckrakow.org/Ukraine. I'm sure Sebastian, and I can't say it fast enough before, 43 team members will put it in the chat. So there we have that. In terms of what else we're doing, maybe we'll get back to that a little, because I think it's amazing the scope of what it is that we found ourselves doing, or that we've decided to do. And so we mentioned all the people that are building is this point of supply point, that people that are coming in and getting supplies, dropping supplies off. We are funding. The city called us; they ran out of food, so we dropped the food off at one of the main city points of distribution. So things are getting dire. What's a nice project is that we've opened a mother and child safe space called Mama Stradomska. That's the name of the street, Stradomska, with a partner, and that's providing daycare for young children. And then the mothers are in the space next door, and they have English and Polish classes starting to go online with counseling and job training. So that's an important thing, especially these women and children that have gone through so much and are alone without their husbands. So we wanted there to be a particular safe space for just women and children. We was kitting that up really nicely, and that's an important project that we're doing. That next week it started to run, but next week it'll really be fully set up. We're also running one of the main information points for Ukrainians coming in. Staff, there's about 25 Ukrainians in there all the time. We've banded together with 4 other local NGOs to run that. We're giving them financial support and we're giving them certain services. 100 people are living there on the 2nd floor. It's an old theater, and like the theater that wasn't being used gave it to this NGO, to us really, and this NGO. And we're providing food for all the residents there, and it's a main logistical point. That's helping Ukrainians. Now, this is something, the organization that is really through you, which is the Polonia Foundation, which has been really pretty incredible. The work you were teaching this group of evangelical Christians for the last 8 years, and nice enough people. You went to their houses. They couldn't be more interested in everything Jewish. But I think we as Jews are always a little bit, we're always slightly skeptical of the non-Jews that are that interested and want to learn everything, and having their own Pesach Seder and stuff. It's always something, and you were aware of their humanitarian work, but I don't think you really got it until
didn't get it at all.
This crisis started, and you understand that they're this amazing organization that's moving heaven and earth to help people on the border and inside, and then bringing people out.
Yeah, I mean, it was always something that, Eric's, that's his name. Oh, he's just got back from Ukraine, or he's going to Ukraine. And it meant nothing to me, because what do I know from Ukraine until the war begins? And then he is able to use all of his connections, he and his brother, to be able to get into Ukraine, get to Lvov, get to the places that need it, because they've been working there, have a relationship for all these years. And this organization, I teach around 30 of them weekly, and they kind of said no more class because we're going to the border. And like most of them are actually living near or around the border to help out around the clock. And we kind of joined up with them and said, how can we help? you know, and I spent a day with them. I spent 2 days with them, and it was eye-opening.
No, absolutely. And I mean, just to understand the scope of what their operation is, that we are now working with them, providing them with financial support. We've helped them purchase now tents along the border, the Ukrainian side of the border. So yesterday, you and I, and we're going to talk about that after, we're on the Ukrainian side of the border, providing them with tents and helping them have equipment there on the border, heating, and in these tents and all of that, supplies for the tents to give out to the refugees. They are getting buses and vehicles, filling them.
Explain why they need tents at the border.
Tents at the border because people are waiting sometimes for 2 or 3 days, 4 days at the border.
Freezing.
Snowing yesterday. I mean, it's freezing out. It's it's below freezing at night, way below freezing. So it's a very tough situation. Think about being on a cold bus for 72 hours. You're driving. When you go through dangerous places, they shut all the lights on the bus. You're driving down a highway with no lights, women and children, little kids on a bus, crying, hysterical. Finally you get to the border, and then you're there for a few days as they let people through. It's freezing on the border. Really a tough situation. So this is one of the main points of help that we're focused on now, is making sure that border that we can do what we can for these people at the border. And that's why you've been there twice. I went with you yesterday, and we saw for ourselves, which we'll talk about. They're also bringing supplies into Ukraine and bringing people out. They've brought 2,000 people out of Ukraine, and without waiting at the border. They have whatever connections, we shouldn't talk too much about it, at the border, and are bringing people directly through in many cases from the border. The other day, 30 buses, Avi, 30 buses they brought out of Ukraine.
Let me show a couple of videos about it.
Okay.
And we'll get back to her in a second. But here's a video of you. Do you see it, Jonathan?
I do. Now I don't see. Oh, no, yeah. Okay. Supplies into Ukraine.
Why is it?
You tell me, Rabbi Avi. I do not know.
Hold on. Let me try it again. Well, this one. This one. Let's see if that works. This is the one of them putting people in an ambulance. It's snowing.
Right. So with the yellow vest, these are our people that we're working with.
And sorry, there's another one of this when they're getting all these people on the bus. I hope this one works. Yeah. This is 29 buses. They brought them in one night.
I don't see it.
Большое спасибо. Niesamowity tłum, takiego jeszcze nie było. Co my robimy, powiedz? Dobre rzeczy, nie? Żałujesz, że tu jesteś, powiedz? Zobacz te twarze, jakie szczęśliwe, że już są na
I
miejscu.
don't see that on my screen on the Zoom. I see it on.
You don't see it?
No. Figure maybe Seb can help us a little bit with that. We'll figure it out. So yeah, so we're partnering with this amazing organization. They're bringing people, bringing out. We're helping with tents, with food on the border, with buses, paying for gas for the buses. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. Another thing I also want to mention before I forget, people have been reaching out. We talked about the generosity. We have a kid whose family I don't know, who's a member of Park Avenue Synagogue. I'm not going to say his last name, but his name is Harry. And they contacted us and they said his bar mitzvah is in 6 weeks. He's so moved by the crisis, by the war, and by what the JCC is doing that he wants his bar mitzvah project to help support our safe space for women and children. I did a Zoom with him, and he sent it out to all his family and friends, and they're raising money. What a beautiful bar mitzvah project to do.
Jonathan, do you see the picture of the bus now?
I do.
Do you see the video?
I do.
Большое спасибо.
I was in the darkness of night, so.
Co my robimy, powiedz? Dobre rzeczy, nie? Żałujesz, że tu jesteś, powiedz?
Twarze jakie szczęśliwe, że już są na miejscu.
No, we'll just keep pulling them off the
Like
buses.
I said, do you see their faces? They're so happy to be in this place now. In other words, getting on the buses. This is, I think, at the train station. They went into the Lviv train station, right, to pick people up. I don't think this is the border.
No, this is at the border.
Oh, it's the border.
This
Sorry.
is dropping them off at the border, and they went
Okay.
straight into the passport office.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I have that story with Nona. Do you want to see that?
So maybe, wait, I think we're going to separate. We're going to talk about what we're doing here, the response, and then Avi, afterwards, we're going to talk about our experience at the border. So let's wait with the Nona story till we get to the second part of our AMA today, our experience at the border. Still want to get through just because I'm so amazed by what we're doing, and I think people would be interested to know what the JCC is doing in terms of this. So we have two. What's really a nice story, which is we have two Ukrainian children in Frida. Two Jewish children that have come from Ukraine. So we're providing childcare for everybody in a separate space, but for the kids that wanted to join Frida that are part of the community in Ukraine, in different cities, that we have two little girls in Frida, which is really sweet. And one, a very, very nice story. This her mother's young mother, she's 31, one of the girls in Frida. And we're providing her with housing, and we have hired her to work here to help us coordinate our response to Ukraine. She's an amazing, amazing woman, and a nurse and a graphic artist, and she speaks Hebrew and she speaks good English. So we're like, you're amazing, and we hired her, and she's starting work on Monday, and her daughter's in Frida.
Yeah, and what's amazing is that with a couple of the stories is that they get here, their husbands are not working. Their husbands are, they have no way to work. So as soon as they get here, they need to start working, but they have their kids.
Right.
So we're just helping them, and then they can start their lives, in a short time.
I mean, their money is in hryvnia, the Ukrainian currency, which is obviously crap. They don't have access to everything. The husbands aren't working because they're fighting, and everything is shut. Emergency services. There's no food in the shops. It's not, the husbands are off, are defending the country. And women defending the country as well. We should also be good to point out that it's not all the women are leaving. A lot are staying and are also fighting alongside the men. We've also helped with transportation. About 100 people we've gotten. Somebody comes in, I want to go to Israel. My brother lives in Israel. I have no money. We buy him a plane ticket. Sending people to different cities in Poland, cities all around Europe. I think the most dramatic one was we got a call that there's a bus of 45 children with autism that are going to get to the border, and they have they're stuck at the border. They will be stuck at the border. So we arranged transport from the border to bring them to Vienna, which is 1,000 kilometers away, 600 miles on a bus, and they needed, I think, an extra bus and 3 drivers, and it was a whole complicated thing, but we arranged that. And those kids are in Vienna at a place that was able to take them and help them. So it was, that was something, helping children is one thing. Helping children with special needs is in times like this is pretty amazing that we have the capacity, we're able to do that. We feel just really lucky that we feel lucky that we got that call.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of hundreds of calls that we're getting every single day, and you just got to keep going and keep helping the next one after the next one. So, like we said in the beginning, people do break down, and I saw some of the staff who were Ukrainian, and they needed time for themselves because they're they're going through this, and then they have to help out the people who are just coming. So everyone kind of needs to breathe, recoup, and then come back and keep working. And
I think what we've been lucky to have access to is to that one organization that we talked about, but another group of people that we know here that have partnered with a group of people. They have trucks and they have a good way in, and they're bringing the supplies into Lviv where they're going onward. And we bought the last shipment, I think sent $10,000 worth of medicine that's going in this weekend into Lviv. That's going to go to Kharkiv, I believe. So it's nice that we have, you have this way of doing things efficiently. In other words, normally there's so much overhead and so much cost, but we take $10,000, we buy $10,000 worth of medicine. It goes right to these people. These people throw it on a truck and it goes in and you deliver it directly where it needs to go. So it's nice to, to see that we're able to be efficient with this and to help in all different ways. It's just, what we see 2 weeks in is that when you have these partners and you start to be seen as an organization that's doing things, then everyone starts to turn to you. So we're getting calls from dozens of, not only individuals coming in all the time, but from organizations that want this and want that. So, the partnership here is key.
It's also amazing that we're kind of fighting or supporting our efforts on the two fronts at the same time, which is not a simple thing. You might have said, okay, let's just deal with what's happening in the JCC, people walking in. And we're saying, yes, but we also want to be able to help people who are bringing supplies and going to the border and going to Lviv and are extracting people and bringing them back to safety. So it's really, a whole picture here.
And we've been very lucky that organizations, that we have a base of supporters around the world that helps us do our normal work of building Jewish life. And they are trusting us to respond and encouraging us and allowing us to do it with their tremendous financial support. UJA Federation in New York, World Jewish Relief in London. We have a family foundation in Atlanta that's that's a 6-figure donor to the Ukrainian effort. Different foundations all over 800 individual donors, which is a remarkable number, getting, in some days, 100, 150 individual donations coming in, which is remarkable. We've never had anything like this.
So the question is, we don't have the answers to, but how is this all going to play out? Because it's unsustainable if it just goes on forever. What was this madman going to do? What's his plan, Jonathan? You must have given this some thought.
It's funny, I had to just mute for a second because I found out that there's an apartment that might be available nearby, and Sebastian, who's running everything for us and who's really coordinating our whole response as he coordinates everything else for me, has running over to potentially sign this lease before somebody else takes this space. So
wow.
No. So I don't know. It's interesting. People ask me, as somebody who's follows the news and lives in this part of the world, I think I know less about what's going on than just about anybody else. As I see it, there's not an easy out for Putin. In other words, Putin's an ego. He's driven by ego. There's a narcissism. There. A la other leaders that we've seen recently, and it's not. What's Putin going to say? Oh, sorry, it's okay. You're fighting us to a standstill, and we're going to pull out. Putin can't. When you're a dictator, you can't lose face, because then that's the end. It seems to me untenable. The Russian people are an emerging middle class. Wherever you go in Europe, there are a lot of Russians on vacation. These people are ostracized. They're turning Russia into North Korea. And how long is that sustainable? It's not sustainable. Not to worry too much about the oligarchs, but I think they like their oligarch lifestyle and don't like to be shunned and have all their yachts are hiding in Montenegro or somewhere. It's not sustainable. I don't think anybody, the surprise here, beyond that he did it, that he attacked, the surprise here is that it's lasting this long. In today's world, a wired world where we see images, and today they bombed a maternity hospital. Terrible things. There's such pressure, and there's such buttons that can be pressed with a country that's connected to the rest of the world. North Korea, the complicated aspect is they're already disconnected. What do you threaten them with? You're going to not let them use their Visa and MasterCard and American Express like you're doing with the Russians? They don't have anything anyway. There's nothing to take away from North Korea. Right? The only thing you can take away is food supplies, and then you starve the people, and that doesn't help anybody. So Russia, there was a country full of people that a lot of them were middle class and above and living in a certain way, and those people are not very happy right now. So what happens? You need to find a way for this to end with Putin not completely losing face. If I had to guess on a solution that's more or less works for, I think, the world, it would be the Crimea stays Russian, the eastern provinces of Ukraine that were already kind of occupied stay Russian. Ukraine signs an agreement not to be in NATO, maybe a little demilitarization, something here or there, and then Russia and the lifting of the sanctions. And that's the only thing to hope for. Besides that, I can't see any ending for this. I don't see what, if he takes over all of Ukraine, Ukrainian people aren't about to accept it and be occupied. And it's very hard to occupy a country the size of Texas with a poor army that is not this. We see that they're not steamrolling over things. They're having trouble at this point. So the longer that lasts, the more difficult it is. There's a huge advantage to defending your homeland versus invading someone else's. So I don't see how we can hold Ukraine. I don't think the world will allow it. I don't think his own people want to live ostracized for the length of time it would take him to do that. I don't think they're willing to do it. For what? How does it, what do they gain? So it's hard for me to see any other outcome except the one that I said.
There's an amazing parallel to the Exodus story. It's amazing because we're all familiar with Pharaoh said, let my people go. Pharaoh said no, 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 no. But there is one verse in which the ministers, and really I guess representing the Egyptians, say to Pharaoh, enough already. Like, don't you see that Egypt is being destroyed? Stop this. Now that's a moment where Pharaoh kind of, diminishes a little bit and he says, okay. And then of course he hardens his heart.
One second, excuse me, Rabbi Avi, doesn't Hashem harden his heart? Isn't there a line how God hardens Pharaoh's heart?
Jonathan, always surprising me with your brilliant knowledge of the biblical story. In the first part, Pharaoh hardens his own heart. And then the second half, Hashem hardens his heart. But this idea that there was a mini mutiny is something that we're hoping for. I mean, it's the army. The army could turn around and say to Putin, your time is ticking away. It's possible, it doesn't seem like it. He seems like he has a hold on everything, and he's a recluse, and no one can get near him. But maybe if it lasts long enough, the question is who's going to last, right? Is it more bloodshed and Zelensky doesn't move? Or Putin's going to realize he's got to find a way out.
We should talk about Zelensky for a moment, because that's pretty cool. We're used to, oh, look at this guy won the Nobel Prize, or, oh, wow, he got, invented Facebook and Google. From a Jewish point of view, we don't get, the dunk champion in the NBA. And we certainly don't get this image of this leader who's defying Russia, who's leading his country in this way. That's not in Israel. Right? This isn't the macho Israeli doing it. This is Vladimir Zelensky, the comedian who had a TV show about a comedian who became president. Amazing.
Unbelievable story. And he has continuously been like going forward and calling out the world and standing up for morality and say, I'm fighting this battle alone. And everyone's kind of embarrassed that they are not really going in with him. And he's just a voice of clarity, and he's very proud to be Jewish, So
we had a chance to he was here in Krakow 2 years ago for the 75th anniversary, and we had a chance to meet with him and to speak with him. He was at the dinner that the JCC co-hosted with the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial Foundation and with World Jewish Congress, and my friend Beata and I were the co-MCs of the dinner. So I got to introduce President Zelensky, which was kind of, oh, that's fun, president of Ukraine. But to be honest, 2 years ago, besides the fact that he was Jewish and that whole aspect, nobody really thought too much about it. Nobody could have picked him out of a lineup besides that. So that was,
I went over to shake his hand, though.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
It was cool. But how much cooler is it now?
It's pretty cool. Should have gotten a signature.
Yeah. Autograph.
Autograph.
I do have a photo with him, but I haven't I haven't put it up on the wall yet.
Oh, it's got to go.
I have a space on the wall where I took down Andrew Cuomo. I think that's an upgrade. Let's talk about the border.
The border.
Do you want to talk about your first experience? Should we go to yesterday? How do you want to talk about that?
We can go to yesterday. My first experience is ancient history already.
So, okay.
Let's talk about yesterday.
And then maybe we talk about yesterday, then you can talk about the difference that you then did essentially what we did yesterday, except you then went farther in.
Went further, right.
Went further into Lviv. So yesterday, Avi and I, along with a friend from a partner institution that is a humanitarian relief expert, who's been helping our team figure out what we're doing here and give some structure to it. And along with Irek from this organization, your student that we've been working, that is the main He and his brother are the main drivers of this foundation, this organization that's doing all this good work that we mentioned. We left Krakow in the morning. We drove first to like an absorption center in Przemyśl, which is a kind of the biggest town near this part of the Polish-Ukrainian border. There was like a strip mall, like a big mall shopping center that was not functioning, and it had been turned, the parking lot and the inside structure were turned into an absorption center for refugees. So outside you had people cooking food, grilling food, giving it to the refugees, different organizations. There was like the Sikhs support Ukraine, and then there were the guy with vegan food and giving out food, and different organizations. There was a Mexican flag, and Mexico supports Ukraine, and people making food there. I think that there was probably better food there in that parking lot than you can get in most other places in Poland.
It was interesting because I hadn't had a chance, we're in our little corner here and helping, and people are walking in, but then to see it on a wider scale, it's very, very sad. They had mattresses set up, and I don't know, there were these huge rooms that there were hundreds and hundreds who didn't have anywhere to go. Now those who did, there was always a guy loudspeaker say, all right, there's a bus to Katowice, anyone, and people were running over there.
5 spaces, and people go, me, and right. It was like a matching point. They're providing services, some people sleeping there, but it was really mostly a matching point for those. The buses come across the border, drop them at the center, and then the people either stay there if they, I don't exactly know how the decisions are made, but there are some who stay there, and then some who are matched to drivers who come from all over to pick them up and take them to different places. So that was a lot to see. And then we went to the first border, Medyka, where I've crossed before on foot. So the border was familiar to me, but not what was going on there. It was amazing. Must have been 50 to 100 separate organizations had tents set up there on the Polish side of the border, and were providing food and clothing and shoes. We have amazing photos when people passed from the Ukrainian side. So that was
almost like a
competition to feed the people. But yeah, so really nice at the border. Also, what was interesting to me is that you had a line of trucks trying to bring supplies into Ukraine. People had been sleeping in their cars and trucks for 24 hours, even more, to get into Ukraine. These are Poles, people coming at least through Poland, trying to bring supplies into Ukraine, and there was a huge logjam.
Yeah, that was wild. I'm trying to find a video of it.
Do you have a video of your being pulled over by the police for speeding?
It was a rabbinic special circumstance, and luckily God was on my side, so
Yes.
I was able to get around it.
I think God was on your side, and God was on your right foot. Rabbi Avi was in such a hurry to do good that he couldn't wait, and he couldn't pay the normal regulations of how long it should take to get from one border crossing to the other were insufficient. We had to hurry to get to the second border crossing, and perhaps the police had a different idea of how fast we should get there.
Okay, that did take place. Next time we go, Jonathan, you get to do the driving, and then we'll.
No, it was good. You did it at the end of the day. No harm, no foul. No ticket was given.
I have a few pictures that I could show. Let's see if it works. Hold on.
Of the first border, because then we'll talk. I think we have more from the second border.
Here, do you see this picture?
Yeah.
So this is what inside was looking like. Of course, it was illegal to take pictures.
Yeah.
But behind this fence, they were actually quite organized.
It was forbidden to take pictures. Illegal is a more complicated word.
Fair enough. Behind this fence is where the people were sleeping, and we weren't allowed to go until we had to signed in, which is nice because they were concerned that people were going to exploit this. So that's good that they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they had the Israelis set up, and they had different tents set up, and they had clothing piles, and all along the way there are these these tents. And then you have, this is the border itself. These people are coming, and you had everyone like taking pictures, and it was like, it an interesting kind of experience. And here they come, and look what they're carrying. This is all they have. They're
Yeah.
carrying a bag. They've stopped to get chocolate. Someone's giving them a juice or whatever the case is. There's a kid,
Yeah.
you know, he is just off, finally got through the border.
Right. And we're all the time here at this first border crossing. We're on the Polish side of the border crossing at Medyka.
So every few minutes, another family trickles in, and there's someone there to help them, and the Polish guards are there, and it's Israeli guy, you know, getting in there.
That's actually that guy.
Oh, here's that picture with the
He's actually, it's an interesting story. We interviewed him a little bit because he is works for an organization that helps. They're going into Ukraine, and yesterday they went into Kiev. So not into Lviv where the rest of us are going, but that's an amazing photo of the Polish soldier carrying the baby across the border. Look at that. Amazing. But this guy, the Israeli guy, is part of an organization that goes into Ukraine. Well, they do different things, but in this case, taking Holocaust survivors and people in, you know, in great need out of Ukraine. And he was going yesterday into Kiev, which is not a place that people are really going, driving into Kiev from Poland.
Right, I went to Lvov, and I have to say it wasn't scary. There was no sense of oh, there's a war right around the corner. They were setting up checkpoints all over the place to make sure, and there was army all around. But you know, you don't go to Kiev. You know, that's where that's where bombs are dropping.
Right.
And in Lvov, we went in and we helped out the Jewish community that was there, and then we were able to go to the train station, and the train station was just chaos. There was all these people just getting off the train from the east and then looking for a place, and we were able to take 60 or 70 women and children back to the border. So that was an intense day as well.
Yeah. Yesterday, after when we left the first border crossing, we went to Korchova, which was interesting because we saw one side of the border, which was a very different vibe. But then we crossed into Ukraine with our partners there, with Irek and the gang, and we were able to go. So we actually had our passports stamped on the Polish side. We went into Ukraine. We didn't have our passport stamped on the Ukrainian side because the Ukrainians understood that we were there to help out and to sort of see as an organization involved there on the border, that they let us go through. So we crossed through the Ukrainian border and were there on the Ukrainian side where people were waiting to cross. We saw people crossing, we saw buses waiting, we saw a lot. So maybe you can show some of that footage. Is interesting, I think, for people to see.
You know, I don't have that picture.
No, you have the bus, the ones, and you have the before and after. You have the two with
I do have the before and after. Let me show
wait,
you
maybe if you're going to show that, so maybe I'll tell. Do you have the one with
that
standing on
story.
the bus, or so a really
that. I
amazing?
can't find the bus.
I'll tell you an amazing story, which is that yesterday we're standing on the Ukrainian side of the border, and Kai, the guy we were with, I hear him speaking English to somebody. So I go up and I introduce myself, and I'm speaking to this young woman who says, I ask, oh, do you know where you're going? You're waiting here. Where are you from? She says, I'm from Kiev. I said, where are you going? She goes, Krakow. Krakow. I said, we're from Krakow. It's amazing. I go, why Krakow? She goes, I wanted to go to Warsaw. There was no space in anything. There was one space left in one bus, and that bus was going to Krakow. I said, do you have anything in Krakow? Anybody? Do you have anywhere to go? No, I have nothing. I have no idea. So I said, we will help you. We're in Krakow. This is what we do. And I gave her my card, and I said, we'll reserve space for you in a hotel. And tomorrow, and you'll come, whatever. And then we'll see you on the other side of the border. And she kind of looked at us like, who are you people? Like, really? She couldn't believe it. But we said yes. And this is the first video. This is her that we interviewed on that side of the border.
Oh, come on.
My name is Nona.
It's black?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, Abraham. Maybe, I mean, I'm gonna pull it off my phone and play. Oh, there.
This
No,
is-
no, not this one. Oh, no. Wait, you might stop. If you stop screen saving, I might have to screen sharing. I can pull it off my phone, and we do the most basic one where I hold my phone up to the camera.
Hold on. Let me just try one more
We
thing.
reach that level.
Jonathan Ornstein, I'm the Executive Director.
What?
I didn't say anything. That was the video.
Let me see if this video works.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Jonathan Weinstein,
See it?
Yes.
the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Center in Krakow. Right now, we're focusing all our center's activities on helping refugees, sending supplies into Ukraine. Here on the Ukrainian border, and actually on the Ukrainian side, behind me, some buses that are waiting full of people to come to Poland. And we will then be one of the organizations leading the way, helping them in Krakow at the border, and whatever we can, providing them with housing, providing them with food, providing them with all the support that we can.
All right, now let me try this one. See it?
My
Yes,
name is
good.
Nona. I'm from Kyiv, Ukraine. And unfortunately today,
Now it
I'm
stopped.
a refugee. As many people around me, as you can see, thousands of people trying to get over the
Avi, it
border to
stopped.
Poland.
The film
I'm
stopped.
one of them.
What?
It's not going. Wait, let me try on my, just holding it up to my screen. Stop your screen sharing for a second. There we go. Hold on. Technologically challenged, we are. But let's see if we can. I just think it's a powerful thing to see. Let's see if this
My
isn't
daughter
better.
says optimize screen for video sharing.
My name is Nona.
Hold on.
I'm from Kyiv, Ukraine. And unfortunately today, I am a refugee. As many people around me, as you can see, thousands of people trying to get over the border to Poland, and I am one of them. And today I'm coming by bus, and hopefully today we're gonna go through and get to our destination. And my journey is very long, but I hope that today is going to be finished successfully. And I appreciate the help of international organizations, and thank you so much for helping us.
All right, I think I have the other one.
Okay. And wait, so this is today. That was yesterday and this is today. Go ahead.
My name is Nona. I'm from Ukraine, Kyiv. I just arrived to Poland, Krakow, and I am in the JCC headquarters. And this organization is very nice. They provided us with accommodation. And right now we're here and trying to figure out what to do next. And thank you for all your help, and we'll see what happens next. Thank you.
So yeah, that was pretty amazing to see her on one side of the border, and then yesterday, and then today to see her, have her on this side of the border after we were able to help her with housing, and she's here, and we're providing her with whatever she needs.
Yeah, it's amazing that she's one of 100 stories and 1,000 stories, and we have to summon up the strength to keep going forward, because every time someone's going to knock on our door, we can help, save someone from, too much suffering. So we keep going forward, right?
We do, getting a lot of questions. I think that, being asked questions about how long we can do this and what's the sustainability and all of these things, which are important questions to ask, and things that in a normal world we're dealing with all the time. But at the end of the day, as long as there are people to help here, and as long as we are in a position to help them, then we will spend every dollar that we have to and that we can raise to do what we can to help every single soul that is in need of help from Ukraine, Jewish, non-Jewish, whoever they are. As long as we can do it, we have a moral responsibility, and not only that, we have a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to help these people.
The Talmud speaks unbelievably glowingly about this idea, and it says, "Kol makayem nefesh echad b'Yisrael ki'ilu bana olam malei." If a person gives strength, meaning life, to one person, it's as if he builds an entire world. And obviously we expand that to any person, any refugee, anyone who's in need of help. We're continuously going to try to, make their lives a little easier. And you're right, all the sort of resources we have, and that's why we got to keep, finding more support, because every dollar is helping us help them.
Absolutely. Just maybe a quick thing that next week we decided what we were doing for Purim. We had this theme, we had that theme, and we've decided that a big party is not life goes on, of course, and Jewish history doesn't stop when there's a tragedy, or it would have stopped many times along the way. And even in the darkest days of the Holocaust, things go on. So we're going to have our Megillah reading here in the courtyard. You'll read the Megillah, and then we always do a loud, festive Purim march that we march around Kazimierz, the Jewish quarter, in our costumes. And we've decided to open it up to anybody who wants to join us across the city, Ukrainians, Poles, anybody that wants to. We're going to, after we finish reading the Megillah, we're going to be wearing blue and yellow, and we're going to do a silent march around the Jewish quarter. And this we will honor the Ukrainians, and hopefully while we're reading, when we're reading the Megillah, and when we say Haman, which I guess I can still say a week before, we will understand that the response to modern day Haman is not only to try to get rid of him and to to fight against him, but also the responsibility that we have as Jews and that the whole world has to pick up the pieces of the destruction that he rains upon the innocent.
Yeah, and just not to let you finish with you giving the Dvar Torah, the Megillah is a famous line that says that when Esther wasn't sure if she should act or not, Mordechai said quite presciently, maybe the whole reason you were here is to be able to be in this moment in time, to be able to help. And certainly that's the feeling that we have, that we're doing right now.
Amen. Rabbi Avi, it's always a privilege to kibitz with you, torture you, work with you together here, shoulder to shoulder, and even more so during this difficult time.
Thank you, and right back at you.
Thank you, everybody. Be safe, be well. Please support Ukraine however you can. Thank you.